Welcome back. Today we're going to be reading Chapter 2 from Murder in the Kollel. Hope you enjoy it. Chapter 2, Jumpin' Jack. It was Monday morning and it felt good to be behind the wheel of my GMC Terrain, driving down I-96 on my way to East Lansing. I bought the car just 2 months before I entered the yeshiva and it had yet to hit 2,000 miles. For the past 8 months I commuted to the yeshiva on my bike and only used the car to go shopping on the weekends or to get through heavy snowfalls. Mostly the car stayed in the carport just in front of my Southfield condo. I'd forgotten just how much I enjoyed driving down the open road. Strange how you can adapt to just about anything. The state troopers were out in droves and I set the cruise control to keep me just under the limit. Very likely, if I received any speeding tickets, my contacts through the Old Boys network could probably quash them, but why use up the credit? When I took this case, I had to decide if I was going to continue wearing my Yeshiva Bacher black suit outfit during the investigation or go under the radar in jeans and a t-shirt. I elected to go with the Blues Brothers uniform. When I started to learn in the yeshiva in earnest, Rabbi Kamenovich told me that I could come to the base medrash in my regular clothes, that is, sans black suit. But I figured in for a penny, in for a pound. The black suit was the uniform of the yeshiva team, and if I wanted to be part of the team, I had to get uniformed up. With the exception of the yarmulke and the tzitzis, the black outfit has no inherent holiness. A Jewish man is expected to keep his head covered at all times, and wearing the tzitzis is a commandment from the Bible. I feel that when I wear the uniform, people who see me immediately know who I am and what I am. And it does the same for me. It helps define what is expected of me and how to behave and react. For some reason, I thought the Yeshiva Bacher team uniform would be more appropriate to investigate the rabbi's death. He had been part of the team. I made a stop at a rest area on the highway just after Brighton. And when I went to the toilet, I put on my jacket and black hat. When I came out, about a half a dozen people stopped and stared. They looked like they were trying to figure out if aliens were invading the planet. Few Michiganders ever saw a yeshiva bacher. I planned my trip so that my first stop was to check into my hotel. Normally, when I was on a case, I would not worry about lodgings, but things had changed. I now kept kosher. No more burgers at McDonald's, no more KFC. I do not do well on an empty stomach, and anyone who keeps kosher and is blessed with a big appetite has to plan their meals carefully. Kosher food does not grow on trees, and Lansing was not known for its kosher food resources. I figured it would be a day or two or three before I could get back to Dave's Kosher Burgers in Oak Park. So before setting out this morning, I stopped at the one-stop kosher market and loaded up with prepared meals, cold cuts, and assorted nasharai. I also made an online reservation at the University Place Marriott, which was close to the police station, and had special requested a microwave and a fridge. I checked into the hotel and put my perishables in the fridge. Since I had not had much of a breakfast and had no idea how long it would be at the second stop, which was the East Lansing Police Department, I decided not to take any chances. Before I left my room, I sliced open a bagel, slathered it with mustard, and stuffed it full with sliced corned beef. I get hungry, I get antsy. I hopped into my car and I drove to the police station, and I wolfed down my bagel, trying as best I could not to get mustard on my shirt. Before leaving Detroit, I had called my former boss, Lieutenant Mike Gleason, at the Detectives Division of the Detroit Police Department. He said he would put in a good word for me with the detectives in East Lansing. If the police would cooperate, 90% of my work was done. The station was housed in a modern two-story building in a residential neighborhood just adjacent to the courthouse. Michigan State University, the big deal of the city, was a few blocks away. The Detectives Division was on the second floor, and I asked the clerk to point me in the direction of Lieutenant Al Walker. That was the name that Lieutenant Gleason had given me. The division was at the back of the building, and no sooner had I entered their squad room when I heard a voice that sounded like a board being dragged over gravel. And he said, "Slinky, is that you?" It was over 17 years, but I recognized the voice immediately. Heck, I would recognize that voice until the day I died. There was only one voice like that. John Jumpin' Jack Slattery. He was a classmate of mine from the Detroit Police Academy. He got his nickname from the calisthenics class because his coordination was so bad he could not do a jumping jack to save his life. He was also the one who coined my moniker, Slinky. Simon Lincoln, S. Lincoln, S. Slink, get it? I hated the name, but it stuck with me throughout the academy. Once I graduated, I insisted everyone call me Cy. My first assignment was to the Palmer Park Station. I rarely saw Slattery, but when we ran into each other, he always called me Slinky. When he left the Detroit police, well, I sort of lost track of him. I assumed that the name was dead and buried, and that after 17 years, not a vestige or a memory of it remained. But I forgot about Jumpin' Jack. I should have realized he had to be out there somewhere. I turned towards the voice to see that John Slattery was as big as ever. Actually, even bigger than ever. At the academy, Jumpin' Jack had been big, height and width. The height was still about the same, but 6'3", but the circumference had just about doubled, and he was balding rapidly. I guess the physical requirements needed to stay on the East Lansing force were a bit lenient. John rolled over to me and gave me a big man hug, a slap on the back. No smoochy girly type hugs. Al gave me the heads up that you were coming out here to the boonies, said John. He stood back and took in my black suit and black hat and asked, "What? Are you becoming Amish or something? I almost didn't recognize you." "No, I'm taking a break and studying in the Jewish yeshiva for a while," I replied. "I heard about you getting shot and how you quit the force," said John sympathetically. "Now you're pulling in the big bucks in the private sector, down in Detroit." "Thank God, I'm doing okay. I'm taking a break from work right now." Jumpin' Jack nodded in agreement. "Trying to find myself," I added. "Find yourself? Crap. Everyone could always find you. You were the biggest mother in the academy," commented Slattery. "You mean because I was the only one that could whoop your behind?" I said in jest. Jumpin' Jack turned to face the half dozen people in the detectives division and said loudly, "Folks, meet Slinky." Oh, great. Now that name has been resurrected. "Former Detective Sergeant Simon Lincoln of the Detroit PD, now a PI," continued Slattery. "We went to the academy together, and he was the only one that beat me in hand-to-hand. He had been some sort of a hand-to-hand expert in the Marines, so he beat me. I mean, really beat me. He is one badass individual, and I'm happy to say he is my friend because I would not want him to be my enemy. He's here looking at one of our cases, and we're going to give him his maximum cooperation." Everyone said hello, and they nodded, waved, or shook my hand before they went back to wherever it was they were occupying the time. I just kept repeating to anyone that would listen, "Call me Cy, call me Cy." When it was just me and Jumpin' Jack, he began to ask, "People listen to you around here?" "Yeah, this force has less than 60 officers, and when I came up here from Detroit, they thought I was a big deal. Now I'm a detective sergeant, like you were, and second in command in the division," said Jumpin' Jack, making a simple statement of fact. No bravado or ego. That's just the way it was. "Terrific, that's really great," I said. Gleason called. I was supposed to see Lieutenant Walker." "Yeah, I know, Al told me." "How is Mike?" asked Slattery. "He's fine. He's going to retire next year, or so his wife thinks," I answered. "He's a good guy." Pleasantries over, Slattery shifted gears. "I hear you want to look at the Klein suicide." "That's what I was asked to do," I said. "Can I ask you why?" "It was an open and shut as they come. The guy said goodbye and went away. No foul play, not even a whiff of it. So why the interest?" asked Slattery. "The people who hired me knew Klein very well, and they feel there is no way that he could have committed suicide. He's not the type." They're all the type. Things get tough, something snaps, and they become the type. You must have seen it a dozen times in Detroit. I nodded my head in agreement and said, "Sure I have. And you're probably right, and that is what I told the folks that hired me. So let me look at the case file. It'll take a day or two to check out a few facts. I'll write my report, and I'll be out of your hair, or whatever's left of it, in no time." Slattery stopped speaking for a moment and squinted his eyes at me. "Slinky, I know you're in the private sector now, But if you got any information that would change our decision on this suicide, I have to warn you that withholding evidence is a crime, he said earnestly. Jumpin' Jack, the only proven fact that I know about this case is that Abram Klein is dead, I answered. I know you folks are convinced that it was a suicide, and I respect your expertise in this. I will look at your file, and if I learn different, you'll be the first to know. Okay, just wanted to get the ground rules straight, said Slattery. We'll be glad to cooperate. You're going to get cooperation up the wazoo. Let's go over to Lieutenant Walker's office. He's out of town until next week, and it will give us some privacy. And by the way, call me John or Slattery. Did I just see Slattery wince when I used the name Jumpin' Jack? Maybe he would like to make a trade. No Slinky, no Jumpin' Jack. End of chapter 2. Tomorrow, chapter 3. Bye.